We're going to read along with The Great Mosque of Djenne by the Djenne peoples, the essay that is on Smart History and Khan Academy, written by Dr. Elisa Deniz. As one of the wonders of Africa and one of the most unique religious buildings in the world, the Great Mosque of Djenne in present-day Mali is also the greatest achievement of Sudano-Sahelian architecture. Sudano-Sahelian refers to the Sudanian and Sahel grassland of West Africa. It is also the largest mud-built structure in the world. We experience its monumentality from afar as it dwarfs the city of Djenne. Imagine arriving at the towering mosque from the neighborhoods of low-rise adobe houses that comprise the city. Djenne was founded between 800 and 1250 of the Common Era, and it flourished as a center of commerce, learning, and Islam, which had been practiced from the beginning of the 13th century. Soon thereafter, the Great Mosque became one of the most important buildings in town, primarily because it became a political symbol for local residents and for colonial powers like the French who took control of Mali in 1892. Over the centuries, the Great Mosque has become the epicenter of the religious and cultural life of Mali and the community of Djenne. It is also the site of a unique annual festival called the Crépissage de la Grande Mosquée, or the plastering of the Great Mosque. The Great Mosque that we see today is its third reconstruction, completed in 1907. According to the legend, the original Great Mosque was probably erected in the 13th century, when King Khoi Konboro, Djenné's 26th ruler and its first Muslim sultan or king, decided to use local materials and traditional design techniques to build a place of Muslim worship in town. King Konboro's successors and the town's rulers added 2 towers to the mosque and surrounded the main building with a wall. The mosque compound continued to expand over the centuries, and by the 16th century, popular accounts claimed half of Djenné's population could fit in the mosque's galleries. The first mosque and its reconstructions. Some of the earliest European writings on the first Great Mosque came from the French explorer René Caillet, who wrote in detail about the structure in his travel log, Journal of a Voyage to Timbuktu and Djenne. Caillet traveled to Djenne in 1827, and he was the only European to see the monument before it fell into ruin. In his travel log, he wrote that the building was already in bad repair from the lack of upkeep. In the Sahel, the transitional zone between the Sahara and the humid savannas to the south, adobe and mud buildings such as the Great Mosque require periodic and often annual replastering. If replastering doesn't occur, the exteriors of the structures melt in the rainy season. Based on Caillet's description, his visit likely coincided with the period when the mosque had not been replastered for several years, and multiple rainy seasons had probably washed away all the plaster and worn the mud brick. A second mosque, built between 1834 and 1836, replaced the original and damaged building described by Caillet. We can see evidence of this construction in drawings by the French journalist Félix Dubois. In 1896, 3 years after the French conquest of the city, Dubois published a plan of the mosque based on his survey of the ruins. The structure drawn by Dubois that we see above was more compact than the one that is seen today. Based on the drawings, the second construction of the Great Mosque was more massive than the first and defined by its weightiness. It also featured a series of low minaret towers and equidistant pillar supports. The present and third iteration of the Great Mosque was completed in 1907. And some argue that the French constructed it during their period of occupation of the city starting in 1892. However, no colonial documents support this theory. New scholarship supports the idea that the Masons Guild of Djenne built the current mosque with the help of forced laborers from villages of adjacent regions brought in by French colonial authorities. To accompany and motivate workers, musicians were provided who played drums and flutes. Workers included masons who mixed tons of mud, sand, rice husks, and water and formed the bricks that shape the current structure. The Great Mosque that we see today is rectilinear in plan and is partly enclosed by an exterior wall. An earthen roof covers the building, which is supported by monumental pillars. The roof has several holes covered by terracotta lids, which provide its interior spaces with fresh air even during the hottest days. The facade of the Great Mosque includes 3 minarets and a series of engaged columns that together create a rhythmic effect, and we can see these here. At the top of the pillars are conical extensions, like this right here, with ostrich eggs placed at the very top, symbol of fertility and purity in the Malian region. Timber beams throughout the structure, throughout the exterior, are both decorative and structural. These elements also function as scaffolding for the replastering of the mosque during the annual festival of the crépissage. Compared to images and descriptions of the previous buildings, the present Great Mosque includes several innovations, such as a special court reserved for women and a principal entrance with earthen pillars that signaled the graves of 2 local religious leaders. During the annual festival of the crépissage de la Grande Mosque, the entire city contributes to the replastering of the mosque's exterior by kneading into it a mud plaster made from a mixture of butter and fine clay from the alluvial soils of the nearby Niger and Bani rivers. The men of the community usually take up the task of mixing the construction material. As in the past, musicians entertain them during their labors while women provide water for the mixture. Elders also contribute through their presence on site by sitting on terrace walls and giving advice. Mixing work and play, young boys sing, run, and dash everywhere. Over the years, Djenné's inhabitants have withstood repeated attempts to change the character of their exceptional mosque and the nature of the annual festival. For instance, some have tried to suppress the playing of music during the crépissage, and foreign Muslim investors have also offered to rebuild the mosque in concrete and tile its current sand floor. Djenné's community has unrelentingly striven to maintain its cultural heritage and the unique character of the Great Mosque. In 1988, the tenacious effort led to the designation of the site and the entire town of Djenné as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. And we will do the backstory as a separate article.